Hello, I'm Kimberly Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to In Conversation With, the podcast series that delves into the world of financial services and brings you face to face with some of the most notable figures in the industry. Listen as we discuss topics that are currently facing the industry and hear from visionary CEOs to disruptive innovators as we bring you a diverse array of voices and perspectives. We'll explore the challenges they faced, the lessons they've learned, and the insights they have to share about the ever-evolving landscape of financial services.
Hello, I'm Lois Vallely, Chief Reporter at Money Marketing, and joining me for this episode of the podcast is James Tucker, who's founder and Chief Executive of 27Tec. Hi, James. It's great to have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yes, not too bad, thank you. Bit rainy as we're recording, but I'm sure it'll brighten up. So maybe to start off, you could just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, how you got started and your journey to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely, Lois. So I was came out of university, became a stockbroker, became an IFA, so worked as an advisor for a number of years. I ended up then getting involved with a small family office who were running their own investment fund at the time, investing in listed businesses, but also in private tech businesses as well. So I worked for them for a while, and they bought a business that was actually in the supply of mortgage product data to the comparison site market. And they asked me at the time to kind of come up with a bit of a business plan for them as to what we could do with that business. So I gave them a strategy, which was to build it into a B2B tech play in the mortgage space, to focus on the provision of data to advisors to help them find the right product for their client, and ultimately then to evolve out an array of services and solutions from there. And they kindly asked me to step in and run the business for the first couple of years. And so that was now 10 years ago. And 10 years later, I'm still here. And the business has grown today to a point where we serve 16,000 advisors on a daily basis with our tech here in the UK. Work with over 100 lenders and providers. Probably the number one tech player in the mortgage space at the moment, with a growing presence in the wealth market as well.
Brilliant. And I always think maybe this is a bit of an unfair question, but if there is such a thing, what's an average day look like for you in your role?
But it usually involves a school run in the morning, as it does for most people, I'm sure. But outside of that, I spend a lot of time in our office in Bournemouth with the team. So everybody here is in the office 3 days a week. We spend a lot of time collaborating, particularly our senior leadership team, who get together on a very regular basis. So it will vary. I look after our marketing teams and our sales team, so I try to spend a fair bit of time with them. I'm still extremely passionate about products, so spend a fair bit of time with our CTO, Paul, and our director of product, Sam. So keen to keep myself involved in kind of where we're going from a product perspective, but also work closely with our board as well. So we have external shareholders, both as individuals and bigger funds invested in the business too. So I spend another part of my day invariably speaking to them about general progress with the organization, what we're focusing on, how we can continue to evolve the business. And then finally, I still like to spend as much time as possible in the market talking to customers. I think it's really important as a leader of a business to really understand what's going on the ground and the way customers are using your products, the way they feel their own businesses are progressing, and understanding then ways in which you can continue to help them.
Yeah, definitely. And when you were talking at the beginning there, you said about how you started in how 27Tec started in mortgage and then moved into wealth. Could you talk to us a bit more about what your sort of ambitions were for the wealth space when you moved in, and what sort of problems you were trying to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So we back in 2022, we acquired a business called Blue Coat Software. Blue Coat Software was a practice management solution that had customers in both the mortgage market and in the wealth market, and was reasonably unique on that basis. It was a fantastic piece of technology, really great little business, but needed some investment to continue to grow and scale it. So we saw a great opportunity with Blue Coat to do two things. Number one, to kind of bolt that practice management solution into the mortgage technology that we built, which then gives us this really fantastic end-to-end mortgage CRM solution for advisors in that market. But we also saw a real opportunity in the wealth space, where the Blue Coat Software business and the FinPlan product that we acquired is incredibly configurable and customizable. And we'd noticed in the wealth space in particular that a lot of advisors were kind of I suppose, backfilling their workflows and processes into the systems that they have, as opposed to helping and working with the systems to operate their businesses in the way that they need to. So the FinPlan wealth system that we now operate in that space really helps advisors kind of build customized workflows that enable them to run their business and deliver advice to their clients the way they want to. And so we're keen to continue to develop and expand that product and grow our presence in that market.
Excellent. And I know not long ago, Money Marketing broke the news that you are getting investment from, is it BGF, the company? I'm really trying not to say BFG. Sorry, BGF. But
if it helps, Lois, internally here, people have referred to them as the BFGs as well. So, we started a process kind of roughly around the same time as we acquired Blue Coat Software to identify the right partner for us to help scale the business from there. We've been profitable and cash flow generative for a long time, which is great. But in order to operate to the maximum capacity that we can do in both the mortgage and the wealth markets, we decided to bring in a private equity investor to help the business grow and scale. And so after a 2-year search, we ended up selecting BGF, the British Growth Fund, as our preferred partner. And we completed that deal literally a couple of weeks ago. So BGF invested £60.5 million in the business. They've come in as a minority investor. They're a great fit for us as a partner, both in terms of clearly the capital that they're able to deploy, their understanding of the markets that we're in as well, but also the cultural fit with us too. We were really keen to find a long-term investor who understood our business, wanted to go on the journey with us as we grow and scale, and wanted to support the team in doing that. And so far, we're delighted with the progress that we've made with BGF.
Excellent. And could you talk to us a bit more in detail about what your plans are for the investment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we are a tech business, and inevitably people refer to us as a tech business, but fundamentally all tech businesses are actually people businesses. It's the people that design, build and deploy the technology. It's the people that support it as well. So the benefit of having additional capital in the business is you've got the opportunity to bring in additional talent to the organization, to bring in people who can help us scale the business, both in the mortgage market and in the wealth market, help us come up with new ideas for developing the products further to help better suit the needs of our customers. And we've also had a journey so far where we've been acquisitive. We've made a few acquisitions along the way, and we want to continue to do that. We do see a lot of disparate tech providers in this space. And we think there's a market that is ripe for consolidation. So having capital in our business and having the ability to go back and seek more if we need it, to continue to make acquisitions, to grow kind of a broader proposition would be something that we're really keen to continue to do.
Brilliant. So more broadly then, what would you say from what you've seen and conversations you've had are some of the main challenges facing financial planners today?
I think clearly you've got a number of different things in play. Number one, I would say customer expectations. So customer expectations of the advice journey, particularly at the younger end of the generations, are materially very different to people who are edging towards retirement or already in retirement. And I think that if you look at the average age of advisors as well as a community, we kind of tend towards the latter end of our careers as well when we're dealing with the majority of our clients. So you've got a group of people coming through as a generation that have an expectation around the experience of what advice should look like that probably currently isn't being met by advice on the basis that the technology being employed to do that just doesn't give the experience that those customers are expecting. So you do see them quite often go off and do things like self-servicing through the likes of Nutmeg or Wealthify, because actually in those environments you get kind of the look and feel and the expectations that they're used to from a tech perspective, and that they kind of involve themselves with in other parts of their life. So I think we've got a challenge as an industry in how we start to better deploy technology on behalf of advice businesses to a generation of people that are expecting that technology to operate in the same way that they see technology in other parts of their life doing. I think the second challenge that we're kind of facing into as an industry then is just the very disparate nature of the market in which we operate. There's an awful lot of advice businesses. There's an awful lot of advice tech businesses out there. And invariably, particularly in the tech space, we're not all particularly well joined up and aligned to deliver a great combined solution to the market. So you end up with a lot of tech providers kind of protecting their own interests, not necessarily always integrating particularly well with third parties, and not really thinking about what the best outcome is for the advisor, and therefore what the best outcome is for the customer too. So we've seen consolidation in the advice market clearly, and I do think there's some merit and benefit to that. And I think we started to see that in the advice tech market too. And fundamentally, for me, those things do hopefully end up with a better product being delivered to advisors, and ultimately, therefore, a better product being delivered to customers as well.
Mm-hmm. Just picking up on that point about that integration between different technology, like, I hesitate to say tech stack because I don't really like the term, but different parts of an advisor's tech stack is definitely something we hear a lot about. I just wondered what your thoughts are on why it's got, or how it's got to where it has today, in terms of, how unintegrated these businesses seem to, or these different parts of the tech stack seem to be.
There's probably three different parts to it. So number one, you've got tech in the market that is brand spanking new, and there's some really great new technology being deployed by some businesses built in the last 18 months. You've also got some technology that's been in the market for 10, 15, up to 20 years, and trying to get those two different sets of technology to work effectively together can be really challenging from a purely technical perspective. So in order for those businesses to want to do that, they've then got to be aligned in the right commercial interest to make that happen, or they've got to be determined that actually they just fundamentally want to deliver the best outcome for advisors. The commercial alignment part can be really difficult sometimes, because every advice tech business is naturally wants to own the advisor. They want to own the advisor experience. They want to kind of be the core product through which the advisor is utilizing their services and kind of linking out to other people and coming back in. So you end up with a bit of conflict between who is really the customer of the advice tech solution, who is the third party that you're involved with in supporting, and how do you make sure that you're really working effectively together, both from a technical perspective and from a commercial perspective, to deliver the right solution. And I think then, Lois, the third piece is really around those advice tech firms actually putting the time and effort in to understand how to deliver a really, really great integration that meaningfully adds value. It's really easy, frankly, to do a basic integration with a third party and then send out a press release that says, hey, we've built an integration with so or so, where I send 20 bits of data from my system to theirs. But frankly, that adds so little value to the advisor that invariably you actually don't get them using it much. To deliver a really great integration, you have to get the advice tech businesses to really sit down, understand what they're trying to achieve, and really work together to do that. And there's not many instances in this market where I think that's been done really, really effectively so far.
Okay, interesting. I'm jumping around a bit here, but I should have probably asked you at the beginning, just out of interest, what was it? Why are you interested in technology? What was it that sparked your interest in technology in the first place?
Genuinely, Lois, I completely fell into it. Fundamentally, I'm interested in business. I was a business student. I spent a fair bit of time working with this family office, kind of analyzing businesses and understanding what's good about them, what's bad, what you can do to kind of grow and increase their value. And that's kind of where I started. And technology, as we've seen over the past 20 years in particular, has probably been the single biggest growth area for business. It's the fundamental piece that all organizations now have to put at the very heart of their business. So it's kind of been a natural fit to go, well, if you're passionate about business and growing businesses, that the most exciting businesses to be in these days are definitely tech businesses.
Okay, interesting. And I do have to ask what your thoughts are on seems to still be the buzzword of artificial intelligence. I suppose it's buzz two words, artificial intelligence. What are your thoughts on, is that going to help? Do you think that's going to help financial advice businesses? Do you think it's going to steal their jobs? What are your thoughts in that area?
I think I'll probably come back a little bit to some of my points earlier. There's some really great AI tech businesses in the wealth space that have developed solutions now and kind of loosely coupled them with an integration with practice management solutions or platforms or wherever. And that's great. But fundamentally, unless you get those businesses to really sit down with all of the other advice tech businesses in the market and understand what it is that you're trying to deliver in terms of the advice journey that you're giving advisors then to utilize and to follow, understand what the impact of that on the end customer is, you're always only really going to be adding some minimal benefit in a particular niche part of the advice process, as opposed to looking at the end-to-end journey and saying, where are all the different component pieces here that I can meaningfully add value in a way that helps the advisor, and as I say, then helps the end customer as well. So until we see more collaboration across this industry, AI tech, as good and as exciting as it is going to be in very specific niches where there's an obvious case for deployment and a loosely coupled integration between that tech and kind of core practice management tech.
Okay. And do you think part of it, the reason maybe that technology isn't sort of evolving in the financial services space as much as maybe other sectors, is because of the regulation? It's a regulation sort of stopping innovation in the space, would you say? Probably not as an advisor tech business, but what do you think?
I think you have to bear in mind regulation to a significant extent when you're building your tech and when you're building your business. So you've always got this overhead of having to be prepared to do things that you may need to develop your system out because the regulator says, well, you now need to support X, Y, Z. Consumer duty being a great example of that. Every tech provider has had to do some development to their system that they probably wouldn't have done had it not been for that regulation. But no, I don't think regulation fundamentally is a blocker to advice tech businesses developing. I think that the bigger blocker is that there are so many advice tech businesses and a finite amount of market and a finite amount of opportunity for them to go at, that it's very difficult to scale them to a point where you have enough capital, enough income coming in to keep investing and keep developing your product. I don't think it's that difficult to grow an advice tech business to £1 or £2 million worth of revenue. I think it's really difficult to grow one to £10 million of revenue.
We talk a lot about advice gap, and I think there's various different definitions, but I suppose what I'm referring to here is people who might benefit from advice but aren't seeking it for whatever reason, either because they don't feel they have enough money or because they just don't think advice is for them. Do you think technology can do more to help there, to help close the advice gap?
I think there's a phenomenal amount of talk in the market around the extent to which it absolutely should. I don't know about you, Lois, but I've not really seen anything yet that makes me go, wow, that's a really compelling solution for how we as an advice community in particular can really start to do that. I think there's more and more people pushing from the other end of the market, which is kind of the direct consumer space, to say, okay, how can I develop a proposition which takes me closer to the advice market rather than going all the way? I don't think yet there's enough thought occurring, enough delivery occurring from the advice tech community in going, well, how do we support advisors in closing the advice gap and delivering technology to customers that enables them to self-serve in a way that still sees them do so under the banner of an advisor. And maybe that's because fundamentally as an advice community, we don't really want that to occur. We want to run through a typical advice process where we're looking after our customers in the way that we've been used to doing for the past 20 or 30 years. But as I said at the very start of this, that is not the expectation of the generation of people that are coming up through. So if we're not careful, a lot of people that would normally have fallen into ending up needing an advisor at the right time in their lives will not do so, because there will be a tech solution that sits in the middle somewhere and services their needs. And at the moment, it doesn't look like it will be a tech solution that comes from the advice community.
Okay, great. I think we're probably coming to the end of the time that we have, but just wanted to ask you one more thing, and that was, is there one piece of advice or a couple of pieces of advice that you would give to someone looking to start their own business, either in the tech space or just more generally as an entrepreneur yourself?
So I think probably two things then, Lois. So number one, think about where you want your business to be in 5 years' time, and make the decisions today that will help that be the case. So, for example, if you know you want to get to 20 staff, 20 advisors in 5 years' time, plan out your systems and plan out your business now, such that you make the right decisions now, so that when you get to that point, you don't have to reconfigure a lot of what you've built internally. And the second piece is customer experience is the single most important thing that you need to focus on. So the more you can understand what is going on in your customers' businesses, what is going on in their lives, that enable you to deliver a service to them that absolutely gives them what they need and absolutely makes it clear to them that you are listening to them, the more successful you will ultimately be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining me today, James. I've really enjoyed our conversation. It's great to have you on.
Thank you, Lois. Appreciate the invitation.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine. So make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.